Hello and welcome to all our viewers here. I'm Kristen Schwartz, licensed midwife and MC for Goal Learning. And here at Goals, we are in the middle of the preparations for our brand new conference, the Birth and Beyond of 2020 online conference here at Gold. And what I love that we do here is that we get together with our speakers and get to know them a little bit and talk about the upcoming presentations and also what they're working on. And with me here today is Dr. Tracy Cassels. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it is absolutely wonderful to have you here. And this is our inaugural present conference for this, the 2020 Birth and Beyond conference. So this is exciting. You're very one of the very first ones
Love
to
it.
speak at this conference. So welcome to you.
Thank you so much.
So, Dr. Cassels, tell us a little bit about where in the world are you? We have an international audience, so let us know a
Um,
little bit where you're located.
I'm in Canada.
Uh-huh.
So I'm actually in Ontario in a small little area called Prince Edward County. We are kind of the probably more like the Napa of Canada, small, so beaches and wineries and everything like that. So we absolutely love it.
Mhm.
And especially during a pandemic, it's been pretty nice to have some space and be in the country and not worry so much.
Absolutely lovely. That makes me want to go come and visit right away.
You can.
Sounds like a beautiful place to
It
be.
is. It is. It is very
Absolutely
lovely.
beautiful. So, Dr. Castles, tell us also a little bit about your work. I know
Mm.
you're the founder of Evolved Parenting. So tell us a little bit
Evolutionary
about,
parenting.
oh, I'm sorry,
That's
evolution.
okay.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about your background and about your work and your center.
Absolutely. So I have my PhD in developmental psychology, and I admit I never planned on doing any of this, but when I was pregnant with my daughter, my firstborn, I just kind of got a little amazed at how little real scientific information was being disseminated to parents and families. And I started researching, writing, and it was more of an outlet for me. And it started as just the site, Evolutionary Parenting. I was just writing articles and I always say it was really my husband pushed me to do it because he got sick of listening to me himself. So that was my impetus to keep writing. And it just kind of grew into what it is today, which is I've finished my degree. I now work one on one with a lot of families every month who are struggling with parenting, whether it be sleep or, in the case here of having a high needs child, that they're really struggling with how to do everything discipline, sleep, daycare, schooling, everything. So we talk a lot about that. I also offer courses for families now that they can take. They're all kind of 4 week, do it at your own pace at home courses in which I also talk to them about stuff. I end up with some professionals in there as well who take it for their own work to go forward. But my real goal is, my hope is to normalize kind of this parenting as we've evolved to do it, to try
Mhm.
and get out of this modern mindset and realize that our babies have these biological needs. As parents, we have biological needs. And the more we deviate from them, the more problems we have. So that has been the overarching goal of evolutionary parenting, whether it be in the writing, the individual work I do, the courses, or the ebooks that I have out on the same topic, trying to bring together science and history, as I put it.
Absolutely, yeah. In this concept of evolutionary parenting, sorry, so evolved
That's okay.
evolutionary parenting, I love this. So tell me a little bit about this evolutionary part of this.
Well, it came to me out of the fact that I felt that so much of what we do nowadays ignores our biological reality. And if
Hmm.
we go back and look at how we've evolved as humans, how our children have evolved, how our babies, have certain sets of expectations when they're brought into this world. And those expectations are derived from our evolutionary history.
Hmm.
And it is so hard for us to disentangle our babies from that, even though our society may have changed.
Right.
We may not, as we always say, we're not living in a cave anymore. We're not doing anything, but certain sets of those expectations are still there because evolution works far slower than the way the rapid progression of our society has gone. And when families are able to understand that, and especially in the case of these higher needs or orchid children, these methods really help them. And that's what we want families to understand, is that there's a lot of good reason behind infant behaviors and behind some of these more parent-child relationship behaviors that we have kind of gone by the wayside these days.
Gone by the wayside. And I can also imagine, and we talk about the high needs baby in just a little bit, but every baby is different. So parenting also has to be in a way that kind of connects more with the baby and not just what society expect the baby can do, right?
Exactly.
I, I can tell you as a midwife, I used to hand out these wheels, these what can baby do, right? And sometimes these wheels would drive me absolutely crazy because I feel like every baby has their own time when they do things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some babies who maybe never roll over, or some babies crawl, walk instead of and never crawl. So, but you have all these families or parents
Oh,
that are super concerned or worried if their baby is not exactly on that milestone, the exact day or week it's supposed to be. And I always wanted to throw these wheels away, but then I was like, no, I have to educate them. So so I'm really fascinated and interested in that concept that you are
yeah.
presenting here.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's actually funny you say those wheels. I had a great conversation once with one of the researchers at UBC when I was a graduate student after my daughter was born. And we had this discussion of the trajectories that are expected. And we
Mhm.
both agreed that, could we just throw out all the months, take, 0 to 2, and at some point it's all going to happen. And that's where you end up, and just let it go. And I know that was a bit too far fetched, because there are
Right.
things you do want to see early that are flags and
Sure.
markers. But
Yeah.
outside of those big things, really, I mean, you said some babies, my mom never crawled. She went
Right.
straight to walking. And
Right.
my grandmother got a little, oh, okay, what's this? And I think my daughter rolled over once and decided,
Right.
I don't like this, and
Yes.
never did it again. And that was that. And she walks fine. She
Right.
crawled. It was all of it going on. And so there's so much panic, I think, in our
Hmm.
society about what to expect. And I think it starts, I mean, you're a midwife, it starts with
Yeah.
birth.
Oh
We
yeah.
start out
Absolutely.
that process of what to expect. And if they don't follow the trajectory of pushing for X hours and this stage of
Hmm.
labor, you can get into all sorts of interventions and everything. And
Exactly.
I think it undermines a parent's sense of self-efficacy as a parent.
Absolutely, absolutely. It feels like we're so much, worried about, okay, this has to happen from the outside. The outside tells us what's supposed
Yes.
to happen instead of listen, in the case what you mentioned with labor and birth, to our own bodies, and
Yeah,
also listen to our children, looking at our children,
exactly.
seeing
That's
what, yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's the hardest hit is, I mean, this topic we'll be talking about at the conference is the
Mhm.
higher needs baby. And I think that's become, for me in my work, I end up with
Yes.
a disproportionate number of higher needs babies with families, because they're so left behind in our culture. They are ignored, they are
Mhm.
devalued. As I'll get to in the talk, they're made to
Yeah.
feel shame for having children that might just not respond the same way as others do. And it's really unfortunate, because we need them to feel empowered to raise
Mhm.
these babies as they need so that everyone thrives.
Right. We live in such a fast-paced society. Everything boom, 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 boom. We need to go from A to Z to A to B to C to and so on. And it feels like these babies and these families are being, it's like they can't they can't go that fast,
No,
right?
no.
And so they're kind of falling by the wayside. They're labeled different. And so tell me about you're talking about orchid children. So tell me what about this orchid part, without, I know you will probably talk about this in the
Yes.
presentation. I want to give too much away, but it's such a lovely name.
It is, and that's actually, as I say in the talk, it's why I like the terminology. I do think, we have the High Needs Baby by Dr. Sears, the Sensitive Child by Dr. Aaron, and now
Hmm.
we have the Orchid Child from Dr. Boyce, which I'll talk about. But I tend to prefer the Orchid framework, in part, as I say, because it doesn't feel like a problem or something to fix. When we talk about
Hmm.
higher needs, it seems, oh, they're just
Yes.
needy and we got to stop that. Or sensitive, people tend to interpret that as weak, right?
Weak.
We're sensitive
Mhm.
and weak. And whereas an orchid, you think about that spectacular flower that, when
Yeah.
given that right environment, given the environment that supports it, it thrives.
Right.
And that's what I love about it, because these children are unique in that way, and they can
Mhm.
thrive in ways that some of the other kids don't. And we've always kind of, for a lot of history, researchers looked at the downside of these kids that were sensitive. They
Right.
seem to be more at risk for other things. And what's shifted now and been so nice is that we no longer view them as just at risk. They are in some ways,
Mhm.
and we'll talk about it in the talk, but they also they can thrive, they can be excellent. And that is the part that we want to focus on, is what's that environment that enables thriving as
Thriving.
opposed to just viewing them as being at risk.
Yeah, and being at risk and being a bother. You know, how you
Mm.
pronounce it, like, the high needs baby sounds like, yeah, the baby is needy, needs a lot, this is a
Yes.
lot. And then also, the sensitive child, there is this perception, oh, sensitive, just snap out of it, you know,
Toughen up. That's
toughen
the,
up, exactly,
exactly.
and but like this beautiful flower, the orchid, and it sounds so beautiful that they can really thrive in the right environment. So not only focus on the risk part, on the uh the difficulties, but also on the beauty these
Yes,
babies and family, children
exactly.
can bring to the world itself.
Well,
That's amazing. Yeah.
and the other thing about it that I like about the orchid is, I mean, and I know very little about gardening. I found it all out after I learned about the term here, but he contrasts orchid with dandelions, who are a bit more resilient and they kind of thrive in almost any environment. And the other element about it is that a dandelion grows very quickly. They
Yeah.
kind of get to where they need to go, and so we don't have to have patience for that growth. But
Right.
orchids take time. They take a lot of time and, in a sense, that effort of keeping things good for a longer period. And I
Hmm.
think that's such an important part for parents to remember, is that it is time. We don't rush these things, these kids. They need that extra time. And so you're not going to push them out of the nest at a year old, so to speak. They're going to take a lot longer to get to where they need to be. And that's
Hmm.
okay, because where they're going to end up is wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Castle, thank you so much. And I'm so looking forward to this presentation. Before I let you go, what little nugget of wisdom can you leave us with?
Oh my goodness. Was not prepared for that one. Um, I think follow your baby. The one thing I can say to people is, not just follow your baby, but I guess get to know your baby.
Mhm,
Because when we get to know our babies, and I always say to families, don't react, step back and just observe for a bit. Because when we observe our kids, we start to learn what they need, and it makes it easier on us. But I think we are driven, as you said, in this fast-paced society to react and respond very quickly, go, go, go. And
mhm.
so much we need to just step back with our kids and get to know them. And that takes time.
Beautiful. Get to know them and step back. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sitting down
Oh,
here and
thank
talking
you.
with me today. And we are looking forward to your presentation.
Well, thank you. So am I. Thanks for having me.
And to our viewers, you can comment below if you have any questions for us and as well about the conference. The presentation, Parenting a High Needs Baby in a Low Needs Society, is part of the brand new Birth and Beyond conference of 2020 that's online here with Gold. This presentation will be live on October 19th. And if you would like to find out more about this presentation and all the other presentations in the conference, we would like to invite you to visit goldbirthandbeyond.com. Thank you, everyone, for listening here, and I hope to see you at the conference. Bye bye, everyone.